everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Nothing But Locks podcast. I'm your host, Ali Melnicki, accompanied by my coworker, Jacob Schrader. How are you doing today, Jacob?
Doing well. Excited to talk about some fantasy football a little bit early in the season, but it's never too early when it's the most important thing in the world, fantasy football, that is.
Yes, and it is never too early. I think we should start. The big news obviously broke Monday morning. Lamar Jackson has requested a trade from the Ravens. For those of you unfamiliar, the Ravens placed the non-exclusive franchise tag on him, meaning that another team can offer him a deal, but the Ravens are allowed to match that. If he gets traded, he will require 2 first-round picks. So a bunch of teams are balking at that because Lamar has missed a lot of games in the past 2 seasons, never played a full season, and never really had a great season, or I should say an exceptional season since his MVP campaign. So, Jacob, let's focus on Lamar real quick. From a fantasy perspective, not so much what might be the best fit for an organization, but from a fantasy perspective, where would Lamar Jackson be the best fit if you own him as your quarterback?
Yeah, so I think Lamar Jackson is interesting because he's a bit independent of what's around him. He's a guy who creates his own opportunities. Part of the Lamar Jackson magic is the runs he has, and he never really had a crazy supporting cast in Baltimore. I would say honestly, it's the team with the worst defense. That's going to put the most pressure on him to score points. I don't think the players around him on offense have anywhere near the amount of an effect than it would have on someone who's a pure pocket passer, right? Who needs a good. I would say the only position is tight end. Probably somewhere that has a good tight end will bode well for Lamar Jackson, just given how used to he is throwing to Mark Andrews in that position in general. But I think he's a guy that creates a lot of his own opportunities. And when he's on a team, that's his offense, right? He's the guy who's scoring a lot of the fantasy points.
Right. So a few teams that were mentioned the past week, I'm going to throw them out at you, and you tell me if you think it would be a good fit for the team, first of all, and then a good fit if you are a Lamar Jackson fantasy owner. Let's start with the team most rumored, and that's the Indianapolis Colts. Obviously, they struck out their last 2 quarterbacks they traded for, Carson Wentz, Matt Ryan, both one and done, both big disappointments. Neither were able to get the team to the postseason. What do you think about Lamar Jackson to the Colts?
I gotta say I hate it right off the bat. I don't necessarily know why, other than the fact that I think Lamar looks so good in that purple uniform, just so swaggy, and it just fits like his personality, right? He's that guy who's kind of talking a little bit, and I mean he's a very respectful guy, but he kind of has a bright personality, right? And that fits him well in the purple. I just cannot see him in a Colts uniform.
Right.
To me, it literally is like the craziest. It doesn't make sense in my brain for some reason. Lamar Jackson as a Colt. I mean, I think overall it's fine. It would make the Colts pretty good. I mean, they need a quarterback like that. It'd be great for the running back to open him up a little bit. Besides that, I think the Colts are the big winner there. I don't think it really does anything for Lamar. I would be surprised if he went to the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it'd be a tough situation. He's going to a team where Jonathan Taylor is your running back a year ago. It would have made great sense. You would have had the number 1 running back in the league. Jonathan Taylor regressed significantly the past season. And I don't know if I love Lamar's targets. You obviously have Michael Pittman, who I think is still at his peak, one of the best wide receivers, maybe like a top 15, top 20 wide receiver in the game. I think he's just not played with the greatest quarterback. But I don't see any other weapons for Lamar. He doesn't have a good tight end. What you have Mo Alley Cox, you have some other guys that kind of do the depths on that team. And really your number 2 receiver after Michael Pittman is Alec Pierce, who had some good games last year, but never was a spectacular rookie. So I agree with you. I don't think that if I was a Lamar Jackson, say I was in a dynasty league and I had Lamar Jackson, I saw he went to the Colts, I would be looking to trade him. I really would. I don't think that would do anything for him. And I actually don't think it makes the Colts significantly better. I think they have a lot more flaws than bringing in Lamar Jackson. And if you bring in a quarterback that has durability issues, and he proves to have durability issues when you sign him to a long-term deal, that's going to set you back. So I don't know if I agree that Lamar Jackson would really make the Colts a game changer. Again, they are in probably the worst division in the AFC, so they would be contenders for the title, but I still don't think they compete with the likes of the Chiefs, the Bills, the Bengals, the Chargers, some of the other premier teams up there. So I'm kind of with you. I'm not a big fan of it. But let's talk about another team. Let's stay within that division. Another dark horse team that has been rumored is the Tennessee Titans. As of now, they're slated to start the year with Ryan Tannehill again. They have Malik Willis, but from what we saw from Malik Willis last year, it doesn't really qualm any fears. He didn't perform that well at all. In fact, they needed to sign Joshua Dobbs off a practice squad at the end of the season to start 2 games to get them into the playoffs, which they ended up not making. So what do you think about Lamar Jackson, potentially a Tennessee Titan?
So I like that one a lot more. I'm going to say a lot of my thinking is just based on kind of what I said earlier. I cannot picture Lamar Jackson in Indianapolis Colts. It just doesn't fit with who he is. Right. I think the Titans are a little bit better. I think they've got some good talent. They had a really strong performance from their tight end in the second half of the season, and I just think they're got to be getting sick of Tannehill. They got to know the end is close, and I also think that Malik Willis is basically done. I don't think they see him being a NFL quarterback, at least not for a long time. And a guy like Lamar is a perfect guy for Malik Willis to shadow behind. Similar play style. Malik can run a little bit. I mean, he's not Lamar Jackson. I don't think he's ever going to be Lamar Jackson, but they spent some high draft capital on him. They might as well put him in the best situation to succeed. But then again, if you're signing Lamar Jackson, you're not really anticipating Malik to start for a while, and they're not getting anything for this guy based on what he showed last year. So, I mean, I think overall, I think it's a great fit for the Titans, and I think it's a much better scenario than the Colts are for everyone involved.
Yeah, the thing that separates the Titans from the Colts for me is the defense. The Titans still have a very underrated defense, one of the top. They're getting their star player back this year, Harold Landry, who missed all of last season with an injury. They have some very good weapons on there. And Mike Vrabel, I think, is one of the best coaches in the game right now. So he goes to a proven coach with a great track record and knows how to win. And they do have some young talent. I really like Treylon Burks. He had some big catches at the end of last year. I think he's really going to blossom. I actually think he's one of the sleeper picks if you're looking to draft a wide receiver that can have a breakout season. I think Treylon Burks might be up there. But I'm right with you. I think that you have Derrick Henry in the backfield. That 1-2 punch between Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry is lethal. So I agree. I think that it would put the Titans right at the top of the AFC South. I think they would win the division with Lamar. I think that if they had any other quarterback last year, not named Malik Willis, Josh Dobbs, they would have won it. If I think if Tannehill doesn't get hurt at the end of the last season, they make the playoffs and win the division against the Jaguars. It basically came down the last game. So I think Lamar Jackson puts them right back to the top of that division. Yeah, let's go. Oh yeah, keep going.
Well, I was going to say, and then the Jags won that crazy game against the Chargers.
Yeah, that was insane.
We are a sports betting company, and somebody wagered $1 million on the Chargers to win $11,000, and they lost all of it. Just in case you hadn't seen that before, that did.
I did. I think if that was me, I would never bet again.
Yeah, I don't know.
I did have the Chargers in that game too, money line. I definitely didn't bet $1 million. But I thought halftime, I was sitting pretty, and then suddenly Jacksonville sneaks back, and that was one of the biggest bad beats of the year. So
that was like one of normally games like that are interesting and fun to watch, but that game seemed so slow paced and so almost morose. Like somehow, even though it was an incredible stat line and an incredible comeback, it didn't even feel that nuts. It just kind of felt like the Chargers were trying to lose. It was just a weird game all around.
I don't know how Brandon Staley didn't get fired, the Chargers head coach, after that, because he blew it the week before when he started all his starters like the entire game. And Keenan Allen, I believe, that got hurt? Mike Williams got hurt, couldn't play the following week. He just totally mismanaged that game in the second half. They played way too conservatively. So I don't know how he's still the head coach of the Cardinals, but I'm not the Chargers GM. Anyway, let's go to the next team that I kind of was favoring this team. This is like months ago. I kind of predicted that I could see this team getting Lamar Jackson, and that's the Washington Commanders. Jacob, what do you think about Lamar Jackson going to the Commanders.
Yeah, I think that actually might be the best spot because
Yeah.
the Commanders have an unbelievable defense and they have some really good wide receivers and they're really good in they have an okay tight end. I mean, I don't know how much longer Logan Thomas can play football. I would say he's okay, but he's never healthy, so hard to judge him on that. But the receivers themselves, McLaren, and then the rookie, I can't remember his name, but he's special. I like him a lot. He's from Penn State, but I think they
Oh,
bode well
Jahan
for.
Dotson. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good deep targets. Dotson, he runs really good routes, but McLaren's a great deep target, so it's reminiscent of what it looked like for Lamar's MVP season a little bit. So I actually like the Redskins the most. I think it'd be a good fit for him.
Yeah, I've been talking Washington since before the beginning of the season started. You hit the nail right on the head. I think that they have the best defense for Lamar to join of teams that need a quarterback still, because I don't believe Sam Howell is going to be the answer for them. But again, he has a chance to go to three top receivers in the game between McLaurin, Samuel, and Dotson. You have a great running game behind you with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. And Ron Rivera knows how to coach a Lamar Jackson style quarterback. We saw with Cam Newton all those years. He got Cam Newton to the Super Bowl. He coached Cam Newton to an MVP. So I think that's the perfect fit. You also got Eric Bieniemy, the longtime Chiefs offensive coordinator, is now with the Commanders. He's the offensive coordinator here. He's worked with Patrick Mahomes since he's been in the league. I think he'd be great in drawing up schemes. And you can make a case that Lamar Jackson would be, if not the best, a top 3 quarterback now in the NFC. He doesn't have to deal with Pat Mahomes. He doesn't have to deal with Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, any of the other guys that are coming from the AFC. I mean, can you think of really maybe Matt Stafford, but any other proven quarterback?
Yeah,
I know
maybe
Jalen
Jared
Hurts
Goff.
can make an argument for, but Jalen Hurts is still young. He still needs to show a little bit more. In my opinion, needs to show a little bit more before we crown him better than Lamar Jackson. But I think he's the best quarterback in the NFC, maybe, if he goes there.
Yeah, he might be. The only guy who's competitive, and it's crazy to say this, is Goff. Goff is a good quarterback, and
You're in
I
the
know there's people
minority
who don't
there.
believe it, but that dude throws pretty accurately. If you get him protection, I think he what he has done in Detroit and stayed there and toughed it out and proven to his teammates and his coach, that's big time. I mean, I'm a Jared Goff fan now, and I really never thought I would say that. Just he makes me want to be more of a Lions fan than I have since Stafford left. I think he's good. I think he's a good quarterback who does his job really well, but also has the ability to make some crazy throws. I mean, I think Jared Goff is a guy who can really support a team that is, the Lions were top 8 in offense last year, and I think they'll be even higher this year. He's the only guy I see as being competitive with Lamar, and I think Jalen Hurts is close, but I somewhat agree with you that it's just too early to put him above Lamar.
Yeah, I agree with that right there. It's still really early, but I do think that would be in Lamar Jackson's interest and for fantasy owners, that would be the best spot. Let's go to one more spot that I thought was interesting, even though I don't think it's going to happen, and that's the Atlanta Falcons. You go to literally the worst division in maybe all of football when you go there. I think it's even worse than the AFC South. But what do you think about Lamar Jackson going to the Falcons? Because he has Kyle Pitts there, a tight end. He has I'm blanking on his name, but the rookie that they got out of USC last year as wide receiver. What
Yeah.
do you think about him going to the Falcons?
I mean, I see it as maybe the most feasible scenario because the team that's going to trade for Lamar, they got to give up 2 first-round picks, right? And like Lamar is requesting a trade, but the Ravens aren't in control of whether Lamar gets traded. I mean, I think the the likelihood that someone gives up 2 first-round picks, I think it's possible, but I don't think a contender would necessarily, if a team is a quarterback away, maybe it makes sense, but you got to be really dedicated to Lamar for the long run and certain to give up 2 first-round picks and his contract, right? The killer is that you got to pay him $30 million a
Yeah.
year,
Well,
or
that's
whatever.
just with the franchise tag. Lamar Jackson's commanding somewhere north of 50 million a year because he's going to want an extension if he gets traded.
Yeah, so you got to pay him all that and then a 2 first-round pick bundle. That may just be too much to ask.
Yeah, I agree. And Drake London, that's the wide receiver I was thinking of before. I don't like the Falcons going for him, and I actually don't think it's the greatest fit for Lamar Jackson. I know a lot of people compare it. Well, that's where Michael Vick was successful, but I just don't see it in Atlanta yet. They don't have a great defense. Their run game is still subpar. I know a lot of people like Tyler Algier, the rookie last year, but Drake London didn't have a great rookie campaign. Kyle Pitts has kind of been a letdown since he was, I believe, the 4th overall pick 2 years ago. And if I'm Lamar Jackson, I don't really want to go to an Atlanta team where I just don't have the weapons, and I don't have a proven head coach, Arthur Smith. I don't have a great defense again. So I think that if I'm Lamar, this is the worst possible landing spot for me. And if I'm a Lamar Jackson fantasy owner, this is the worst possible landing spot for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the worst for fantasy because I mean he'll be asked, he's gonna have to put up a shit ton of points to even be competitive in Atlanta. I do agree it's just a little bit odd and it may not make a lot of sense for everyone.
Is there any other team before we move on, Jacob, that you can think of that we haven't talked about that would be a potential good fit for him with a quarterback opening?
I mean, could the Jets trade for him?
Yeah, if they fail on Aaron Rodgers, sure.
You know, I mean, maybe he's better than Aaron Rodgers in a long-term situation. That's the only team I can really think of that would really benefit from making a run. I mean, the Panthers maybe are they really going to trade their first overall pick? No, they're not. So that's out of the picture. But I mean, the Jets, if it happens, it would be remarkable.
Yeah, I think the Jets, I think you're right. That's the only other one I could foresee potentially making a trade. I don't see any other opening besides those four. And I think Lamar Jackson's going to be a Raven still week 1, so I don't think he's
Yeah,
going anywhere personally.
I agree. I agree with that completely. Which is funny.
All right, well, let's start with way too early rankings. It's not really too early. Everyone's draft is going to be in about 4 months. We have the NFL draft coming up. So it's a little less than a month away for the NFL draft, about 4 months away when people start doing their fantasy draft. But Jacob, let's start with ranking the top 5 players fantasy wise going into this year at each position. Let's start with quarterback. Who would be your top 5 fantasy quarterbacks going into this year? And remember, it's fantasy, so I know that there's going to be 1 or 2 quarterbacks that people are like, oh, they're not good. But this is fantasy. It's a whole different ballgame. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to surprise some people because Dak Prescott is certainly going to be in my top five.
Wow. With
Yeah.
all those
So,
interceptions?
it doesn't even matter if he puts up 40 touchdowns again. I mean, he like 2 years ago, he was literally MVP case, and then he got hurt, and um, I just think Dak Prescott and the Cowboys are such a fire-powered and powerful offense that in terms of raw points scored, he will be in the top 5 because there are going to be some games this year where Dallas puts up 50 points. They do it every year. They beat down on bad opponents. So I'm going to start with him at 5. I'm going to put Joe Burrow at 4.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Then I'm going to go Jalen Hurts, then Josh Allen, and then Mahomes. I think you can't knock Mahomes off of the top spot, even though I think a lot of people may take Allen over him. I do not think the consistency of Patrick Mahomes can be matched. Super Bowl champion now. He is on his way to being maybe the best quarterback of all time. And I know Tom Brady retired like a month ago, but Mahomes is on some pretty ridiculous pace considering he's so young. I think he's already won 2 Super Bowls.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. How about you?
So I would go my top 5. I still put at the top both Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes. They're going to be your 2 most consistent guys, no matter what. I then would put Joe Burrow number 3. I love Joe Burrow. I loved him in LSU, so I'd agree with you there. I'd have to put Jalen Hurts at number 4. He's still going to get you the running yards, the running touchdowns. He still has some great weapons with A.J. Brown, with what's his other, Devonta Smith. So I still would put Jalen Hurts there. And I know this is going to be controversial. I know people are asking me, where's Justin Fields? I'm not high on Justin Fields this year. I think that he exploded toward the end of last year, but I think that this year now offenses are going to figure him out. They're going to force him to throw. I think that when he has to throw, he's going to be a turnover machine. I think that just, again, he doesn't have a great offensive line still. They did sign some guards in the offseason, but I don't think that, I mean, they had the worst offensive line last year. It's going to take more than just a few signings to fix that. So I'm not putting Justin Fields in there. Instead, at number 5, and this is going to be a little controversial, but I got to put my boy Daniel Jones in there. I
Oh
know,
boy.
I know, I know. I know that he did not have a lot of throwing touchdowns last year, but look at his receiving core. The Giants, they made a lot of noise in the offseason. They traded for Darren Waller. They signed Paris Campbell. They're definitely going to draft a young wide receiver with their first round pick. I think Daniel Jones, we know he could get it done on the ground. We know he can get it done through the air with limited weapons. And I think that he's really going to show people why he deserved that extension that he got this year. So it might be a little controversial, but we'll see at the end of the year. I think Daniel Jones is going to really electrify this season. What about you?
Yeah, that caught me by surprise, if I'm being completely honest. I did not think you were going to say Daniel Jones. I don't think it's the craziest thing. They did get an upgraded receiving core, and the running that he does always surprises me. He can really move the ball with his legs. And there's a room for that in fantasy. I mean, those are like there's a reason why Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson and guys like that are just high on the list in general every year, no matter what. It's that upside potential. And Daniel Jones surprisingly has that. Every time he runs, I'm like, oh my God, what? And then he is 20 yards down the field and they're showing the stats and, oh, that's his 85th rushing yard of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Good for him.
Yeah. Let's move on to running backs. So who's your top 5 running backs entering this year?
Okay. So I think you got to start one with Christian McCaffrey. I don't think that's
Yeah, I agree with that.
really up for debate. I would say 2. As it stands right now, I would put Tony Pollard as number 2.
Okay.
I think
Well,
Tony Pollard is.
you just got to wonder when he's coming back from an injury because he did suffer that bad tear at the final game of the season.
Oh, so did he tore his ACL?
I believe so. I don't know if it was his ACL, but he tore something.
So maybe that's why, because that's surprising. Because what I'm looking at right here has him 10th.
Yeah.
So
He
let's say
broke his fibula. That's what it was.
oh, that's actually even worse. That actually sucks. I did not know that's what it was.
Yeah.
That's horrible. Actually, that's tough. So Christian McCaffrey at 1. I think Derrick Henry goes 2. I don't think you can sleep on him, and I think a lot of people are. I just think he's so consistent. I'm gonna say Nick Chubb at 3. Again, just an absolute unit at the running back position. And the thing about running backs is, like last year, Saquon ended up number 2 overall in running backs, and he was drafted like 4th or 5th round, 3rd round. There's a group of running backs to choose from, and the guys who are ranked as 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th, it doesn't always happen. Like a guy, I'm looking at this list, and Kenneth Walker is 5th. To me, that's crazy. Kenneth Walker is ranked above Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, and Nick Chubb. I mean, I can't see that. Not at all. Just that doesn't make any sense to me. So, anyways, McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Nick Chubb, then Josh Jacobs, and then I'll put Saquon in there. I think the uncertainty around Eckler is really concerning. I don't know where to rank him right now. I think you got to kind of leave him out. So those are my top 5. Little bit of an odd list for sure.
Yeah, I go Christian McCaffrey number 1. I would put Saquon up to number 2. I think that, again, they put the franchise tag on him. He has to play to prove a contract this year. I think he's going to come out and be explosive. Number 3, I'm not that high on Josh Jacobs this year. I'm not. I think he had a career year last year. I think maybe Jimmy G coming there kind of hurts him. They lost some key weapons, so he's going to be asked to run the ball a lot more. I don't think I put him in my top 5, but number 3, I would keep Austin Eckler there. I know that he's a little bit disgruntled with the Chargers. I think he's still going to be a Charger opening day or opening weekend. And I just think he's just such a multifaceted running back that he's in my top 3 for sure. I'm like you with Derrick Henry. I don't think you could just discard him. He has to be a top 5. So he's my number 4. And then surprisingly, number 5, I'm going to go with Breece Hall. I think people forget how good he was as a rookie before he got injured last year. He's coming back, that he's going to have a nice team around him. So Breece Hall is going to be my number 5 running back.
I like that a lot. I think Brees Hall's a beast. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers goes to the Jets, I think that's an easy first round pick for Brees Hall. We talked about that last time, how he's a big winner of a potential Aaron Rodgers trade. I could move, Nick Chubb out and Brees Hall in, but I think it's hard to take out Nick Chubb. So I think Brees Hall's right in that mix, though.
Yeah, I had Nick Chubb last year, and just it does suck how the guy just doesn't catch a pass ever.
Yeah.
So that if you're in PPR, that hurts you a lot. So that's the only reason why I don't have Nick Chubb there. All right, let's move on to wide receivers. Jacob, I know who your number 1 is, but we'll see if the audience does. So who are your top 5 wide receivers?
So my number 1 is Cooper Kupp. I think that is the easiest pick. And if I had the first overall pick in the draft, I'm taking Cooper Kupp. 1 year removed from the greatest fantasy football season in NFL history. And then, I think Justin Jefferson's great. I think he's a reasonable number 2. I think Devontae Adams is a good number 3. To me, Jamar Chase is overdrafted. To me, Jamar Chase has too many targets around him. You've got,
I agree with that.
It's just he cannot be drafted when he's kind of the 1A. And he's a great player, but he's the 1A. And you got T. Higgins, and I know you lost Hayden Hurst, but you've got Joe Mixon, and you've got other people taking the ball away from him. You got Tyler Boyd, who's a great player as well. I just think the opportunity for Jamar Chase to have dud games is too high, too inconsistent of a player. And it's not his fault. It's the nature of the fact that he's on a great team, on a great offense, and bodes well for Joe Burrow, but not necessarily for him. So, I had Kupp, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, and then I think I just leave Jamar Chase out of it. I think I go Stephon Diggs, then Tyreek Hill. And there's a clear drop-off once after that top 6 for me. Guys like A.J. Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, they are a step and a half behind that top 6. At least how I see it.
Yeah, I have Justin Jefferson 1. I have Cooper Kupp 2. Tyreek Hill's 3. Diggs, I love Stephon Diggs, but there was a lot of games he went quiet in last year, so that concerns me, but I'm still going to put him in the top 5. And then my number 5, I'm kind of torn. I'm like you. I don't want to put Jamar Chase in because as much as I love him, I agree with Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins, there's just too many weapons there. So I'm not loving picking Jamar Chase that high. I'm going to put number 5 as a tie between Amon-Ra and A.J. Brown. I really love St. Brown. I really love Amon-Ra, St. Brown, and I do like A.J. Brown too. But I really love Amon-Ra because I think the Lions are probably going to definitely win their division this year. DJ Chark's not there anymore, so I think that opens up more receptions for Amon-Ra. You still have Jameson Williams there. He's going to be in his second year after coming back at the end of last season. But I think Amon-Ra is just getting better and better. I think he has a great chemistry with Jared Goff. The Lions are a team that's not going to shy away from scoring. They're going to put up 30 to 40 points a game. So he's going to have plenty of opportunities. So if I had to pick my number 5, I would put Amon-Ra St. Brown in there.
That's crazy. I mean, I like it. I like Amon-Ra. I like the Lions. I like everything about it. I don't know. Just losing TJ Hawkins helps. He's really the main guy there. So I don't hate that. I certainly would put him above T. Higgins, who is the second wide receiver on his team. Amon-Ra's good. So no, I like it.
All right. Well, we still have some time. So why don't we do tight end? So besides, obviously, Travis Kelce is the unanimous number 1. Who are your next 2 to 5 tight ends this year?
All right. So George Kittle, Mark Andrews, TJ Hawkinson. I think those are easy. That leaves us with one spot left over. Dallas Goedert is possible. Darren Waller is possible. The Njoku is possible. Am I crazy for saying Zach Ertz?
No, I mean, I like Zach Ertz. It's just their quarterback situation is a little iffy. Kyler Murray's not going to be there to start the season. So I think as of now, the Cardinals have Colt McCoy starting week 1 for them.
Yeah.
Kyler's going to be out the first few weeks, so I just don't know if I trust whoever is going to be Arizona's quarterback. Before them, Arizona did sign someone. Let me just look it up real quick.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't even care. I think it's Zach Ertz at number 5, and it's crazy because I'm looking at this list and he's probably ranked 23rd
right.
or he's 19th. But it's just, I mean, how can you put Cole Kmet over Zach Ertz? Zach
Yeah,
Ertz is literally the most consistent player in all of football, in all of fantasy football. He will
very.
not get hurt this year. Last year, he was on great pace, 4 or 5 catches a game, a touchdown every once in a while. He's an absolute beast. And I mean, it's hard to put him above Dallas Goedert. I mean, Dallas Goedert is a pretty good pick.
Yeah,
But God,
I probably put Goddard number 5. I love Waller. I'm a Giants fan. I love that we traded for him, but I want to make sure he stays healthy enough before I put him at number 5. Kyle Pitts, I just think is a letdown. I'm not putting Kyle Pitts there at all.
yeah.
Njoku's a sleeper. I actually would probably even put Njoku there over Kittle, to be honest with you, because I don't know what I'm going to get from Kittle. He's going to start the year with Trey Lance as his quarterback. I don't know what that's going to do. Brock
Yeah.
Purdy's not going to be back till midseason, so I would probably even put Njoku in the top 5 and take Kittle out.
Kittle is dirty, though. Kittle is so fucking good. It's scary sometimes.
He is, but they use him a lot for blocking. Like that.
Yeah.
That if Brock Purdy was starting the year at quarterback, I think Kittle's probably could challenge Mark Andrews for that number 2 spot because him and Purdy have ridiculous chemistry. But with Trey Lance, I don't see it yet.
Yeah. I love watching Kittle play. I mean, I actually kind of hate it because he's on the Niners and I am generally rooting against him, but he's just a guy who makes football fun. And you know, those guys don't come around every once in a while. You know, he's always got a smile on his face. He's always doing stupid and funny stuff for our entertainment. He is a great person to have in the NFL. That is for sure.
There was a game, I forget if it was last year or the year before, but somehow Kittle put his helmet on and his hair was like coming out from the top of his helmet. It was the most bizarre thing I ever seen, but he had like his Goldilocks hair coming out from the top. It looked like he had almost like like he looked like his helmet had a mullet. It was crazy. And he just played like the whole series like that. I was like,
I'm seeing it now.
Does that?
It's funny. I'm seeing it now. Yeah, he has a knack for the extraordinary. That catch he made in the playoffs, where he bobbled it a bunch of times and he caught it on his helmet.
Against Dallas. That was crazy.
Unbelievable.
All right. Well, Jacob, thanks for joining me today. This was fun. I'm already getting excited. I can't wait for the fantasy football drafts in a few months. I know that there's going to be a lot more to talk about after the NFL draft. We still got some free agents of note to see. Where's OBJ going to play? See where if Aaron Rodgers ends up getting traded. Still not traded yet. Lamar Jackson, we'll see where he goes. A lot to talk about in a few weeks when we have the rookie quarterback situation, Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, Will Levis. Will any of them have fantasy impact? Obviously depends where they go. But before we sign off for today, Jacob, any last words or thoughts for the audience?
You know, enjoy these months if you can, where we've got March Madness, because football's coming fast, and I think everyone is excited. I know I am. Tough it out for a little bit longer. And we'll be back basking in our eternal glory of fandom when the NFL begins again. So looking forward to it.
All right, everyone. Take care.